The body of a missing 18-year-old Dejah Hood was found near the Holly Tree apartment complex on Holly Tree Drive in Tyler this afternoon. According to police, she was found in the wooded area behind the apartments. East Texas News' J.D. Conti joins us now live from the scene with more on this investigation.
Thanks, Jennifer. Unfortunately, I'm at the scene of every family's worst nightmare today. 18-year-old Dejah Hood was found in those woods just behind me by Tyler police at around 1 p.m. today. Her mother reported her missing last night, and Tyler police were called to the scene. They found her in those woods just behind me, and police are telling me they are investigating this case as a homicide. The body was found. There's definitely some foul play involved, Tyler police are telling me at this hour. Now, there is one man in custody of Tyler police right now. He has not been arrested yet, but he is being questioned by Tyler police at this time. And we also know that the man who is in custody of Tyler police is a resident of this apartment complex. We don't know how Hood and this man are related, but that's all we know at the hour at this time is that 18-year-old Dejah Hood was found deceased at this complex this morning.
Welcome to True Crime Malice, where we explore the darkest corners of human behavior. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button to join our community of truth seekers. A playful tug on an ear, a gesture so innocent, became the trigger for unimaginable violence. In September 2023, 18-year-old Dejah Hood's life ended brutally at the hands of someone she considered a friend. Her only mistake? A momentary, light-hearted touch that awakened a monster. The night began routinely. Dejah, a responsible high school student with dreams of becoming a nurse, was babysitting a 1-year-old child. She received a call from 19-year-old Jamoria Britton, asking for help packing for his upcoming move. Having known him for some time, she agreed without hesitation. This decision would prove fatal. What happened inside that Tyler, Texas apartment defies comprehension. A split-second interaction, something friends do countless times without consequence, ignited a sequence of violence so extreme that investigators were left stunned by its savagery and apparent randomness. The human mind can be a powder keg, and sometimes the smallest spark can cause a devastating explosion. In Britton's case, that spark was Dejah playfully tugging his ear, a gesture that reminded him of his ex-girlfriend. This simple act unleashed a fury that transformed a seemingly normal young man into a killer within seconds. As we journey through this case, we'll examine not just the horrific details of that night, but also the psychological triggers that can turn ordinary interactions deadly. We'll explore how Dejah, described by friends as having a mom mentality, who always cared for others, became the victim of rage so sudden and intense that no one could have predicted it. This story forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. How well do we truly know the people around us? What invisible pressures might be building inside someone's mind? And most importantly, how can we protect ourselves and our loved ones from similar tragedies? The case of Dejah Hood isn't just about murder, it's about the fragility of human connection and the dangers that can hide behind familiar faces. It's about how quickly life can change, and how a single touch can become the dividing line between before and after. Have you ever witnessed how quickly someone's mood can change from calm to explosive? Have you noticed warning signs in people that others missed? Share your experiences in the comments below. Tonight, we examine how an innocent touch triggered deadly rage and the final moments of a young woman whose only crime was a playful gesture of friendship. On October 19, 2004, in Mesquite, Texas, Lakita Shuwanta Jordan and David Dwayne Hood welcomed their daughter Dejah Shanace Hood into the world. From her earliest days, Dejah stood out as someone special, a bright light whose warmth touched everyone fortunate enough to know her. Growing up in Texas, Dejah quickly developed a personality that drew others to her. She possessed a natural charisma that made her impossible to ignore. With her contagious smile and quick wit, she navigated childhood and adolescence as someone who, as friends would later say, never met a stranger. Her ability to connect with people became her signature trait, a gift that would define her short but impactful life. At John Tyler High School in Tyler, Texas, Dejah wasn't content to simply attend classes and go home. She immersed herself in school activities, participating in theatrical productions where her expressive nature shined. On the volleyball court, she displayed the same determination that characterized her approach to life. Perhaps most telling about her character was her work as a peer tutor, where she patiently helped classmates grasp difficult concepts, revealing her natural teaching abilities and genuine desire to lift others up. Beyond academics and athletics, Dejah's creative talents blossomed in multiple directions. She wrote poetry that captured the depth of her thoughts and emotions. Her beautiful singing voice turned heads whenever she performed. Friends recall how she even began exploring rap music, showing surprising skill that earned her playful recognition among her peers. The girl had bars, okay? Dejah's artistic abilities extended to beauty as well. She developed phenomenal skills in hairstyling and makeup artistry, turning these talents into small entrepreneurial ventures. While most teenagers were focused solely on social lives, Dejah was already thinking like a businesswoman, building clientele and perfecting her craft. This entrepreneurial spirit reflected her broader approach to life. Dejah was a self-starter who identified goals and pursued them with remarkable focus. She didn't wait for opportunities, she created them. By spring 2023, before even graduating high school, she had completed the requirements to become a certified nurse's aide, positioning herself for success beyond high school. This certification represented not just career preparation, but her genuine desire to care for others in a professional capacity. Perhaps nothing illustrated Dejah's character more clearly than her love for children. Friends observed that whenever children were present, you'd inevitably find a baby in Dejah's arms or a child sitting on her lap. She took her babysitting responsibilities seriously, looking after her little cousins and friends' children with natural ease and genuine affection. For Dejah, caring for children wasn't just a job, it was an extension of who she was. This nurturing quality earned her the description of having a mom mentality despite her youth. She became the friend everyone turned to during difficult times, offering wisdom beyond her years and emotional support that made troubles seem manageable. Her capacity for empathy created deep bonds, particularly with her best friend Sarah Evans, who would later describe their relationship as that of sisters. Dejah approached life with an open mind about her purpose, excited to pursue her dreams and realize her potential. She balanced youthful exuberance with unusual maturity, creating a unique presence that left an impression on everyone she encountered. Her servant's heart and giving spirit made her not just loved, but respected. A young woman whose character seemed to promise a future of positive impact and meaningful connection. At the center of Dejah's social world was her extraordinary friendship with Sarah Evans. The two young women shared a connection that transcended typical teenage friendships, developing a bond that Sarah would later describe as being like sisters. They confided in each other, celebrated victories together, and provided shoulders to lean on during difficult times. Their friendship exemplified the depth of connection Dejah sought in her relationships, authentic, supportive, and built on mutual trust. This wasn't Dejah's only meaningful relationship.
A best friend's worst nightmare.
But it really just hurt my heart. It did. It hurt my heart that she had to sit there and suffer.
Sarah Evans still feels like she's in a dream after hearing reports of her best friend Dejah Hood murdered on Tuesday.
I've been making it. I just been asleep, because every time I'm up, I think about it. I think about it every second of the day.
She doesn't want Dejah to just be seen as a victim of violence, but wants the world to know the girl she's known since high school.
She's like a mom. She has a mom mentality, like 100%. Like she cared for everybody. She loved everybody.
Before her death, 18-year-old Dejah Hood went to Sarah for everything, lately for career advice.
She liked doing hair, like installing wigs and stuff, coloring wigs. And she likes trying different stuff.
The relationship was effortless with good moments. Both girls planning to move and live in a big city like Houston one day. Dreams cut short in the hands of someone else.
He didn't only hurt her, he hurt a lot of people. He hurt a lot of people.
Dejah's character and heart leaving a hole in Sarah's.
She had good intentions. She had only positive intentions on everybody.
At one point, Dejah couldn't imagine life without Sarah as she gets ready to go to the Navy.
She was just like, she don't know what she gonna do. She don't know who she gonna talk to, and she was just really gonna miss me and stuff.
Now Sarah has to map out life without her best friend.
Throughout her high school years, she became known as the emotional anchor within her friend group. When classmates faced family problems, heartbreaks, or academic struggles, they gravitated toward Dejah. She listened without judgment, offered perspective without preaching, and provided comfort without conditions, one friend recalled. Talking to Dejah for 5 minutes could change your whole outlook. She had this way of making you feel like everything would work out. Despite being young, Dejah approached her future with remarkable clarity. Her completion of nursing assistant certification before graduation wasn't a random choice, but part of a carefully considered path. She spoke of eventually becoming a registered nurse, drawn to a profession that aligned with her natural inclination to care for others. Beyond career aspirations, she dreamed of traveling, particularly to coastal locations, where she could feel small next to the ocean, as she once wrote in her poetry. Dejah's giving nature extended beyond her immediate circle. She volunteered at community events, particularly those involving children. Her servant's heart manifested in small, consistent acts of kindness, bringing food to an elderly neighbor, staying after school to help a struggling classmate, or offering to babysit for a single mother who needed a night off. These weren't calculated gestures but natural expressions of who she was. What made Dejah remarkable was her ability to balance these responsibilities with normal teenage experiences. She enjoyed music, attended school dances, and participated in social media like her peers. Yet she managed to avoid much of the drama that often characterizes adolescence. Friends described her as the mature one, who could enjoy youthful fun without losing sight of her values and goals. The trust Dejah placed in others reflected her fundamentally optimistic view of humanity. She believed in giving people chances and seeing their potential rather than their flaws. This quality, while beautiful, created vulnerability. She extended this same trust to Jamaria Britton, a 19-year-old acquaintance who had previously shown no obvious signs of the violence he was capable of committing. Their relationship wasn't romantic, but part of a broader social circle. Dejah had comforted Britton during previous emotional struggles, offering the same compassionate ear she provided to all her friends. When he called asking for help with moving, her agreement wasn't surprising. It aligned perfectly with her helpful nature and the trust she typically extended to those in her life. This trust, this fundamental belief in the goodness of others, was a cornerstone of Dejah's character. Tragically, it would also play a role in placing her in a situation from which she would never return. September 26, 2023, began as an ordinary Monday for Dejah Hood. The 18-year-old was just weeks into her senior year at John Tyler High School, balancing classes with her responsibilities and social life. That evening, she was babysitting a 1-year-old child, a regular commitment she enjoyed and took seriously. The autumn evening proceeded routinely until Dejah received a call from Jamaria Britton. The 19-year-old explained he was preparing to move apartments and needed help packing his belongings. For Dejah, the request wasn't unusual. Helping friends was second nature to her. She agreed, not seeing any reason for concern. What Dejah couldn't have known was the volatile emotional state Britton was experiencing. In the days leading up to September 26th, Britton had gone through a difficult breakup with his girlfriend. According to later statements to police, this separation had left him increasingly agitated and emotionally unstable. Friends had noticed his mood swings but attributed them to normal post-breakup emotions rather than warning signs of potential violence. More concerning, though unknown to Dejah and others at the time, Britton had purchased a gun earlier that very day, a detail that would later raise questions about premeditation despite his claims of spontaneous rage. When Britton arrived to pick up Dejah, she brought the 1-year-old child with her, assuming the babysitting and helping would be brief, compatible activities. The drive to Britton's apartment at the Holly Tree complex in Tyler was uneventful, with no indication of the horror that would soon unfold. Inside the apartment, Dejah settled the child with a movie in the bedroom while she prepared to help Britton with packing. The atmosphere initially seemed normal. boxes scattered around, the typical chaos of moving preparation. Britton later told investigators he was alone in the kitchen when his thoughts turned increasingly to his ex-girlfriend, fueling a growing anger that he kept hidden from Dejah. As the evening progressed, Dejah moved between checking on the child and helping Britton. At approximately 9:30 p.m., according to Britton's confession, the fatal moment occurred. Dejah walked into the kitchen where Britton was standing, noticed his apparent distress, and approached him with her characteristic compassion. In a gesture of friendly affection, the kind she showed to many people in her life, she playfully tugged on his ear. This seemingly innocent touch became the trigger for catastrophe. The ear tug, Britton would later explain, was something his ex-girlfriend had often done. In his emotionally fragile state, this simple action created an instantaneous association that unleashed what he described as a fit of rage. The playful gesture, lasting perhaps 2 seconds, became the dividing line between Dejah's life and death. In that moment, the person Dejah thought she knew transformed into someone unrecognizable. The friendly acquaintance became an attacker. The social gathering became a crime scene. The ordinary Monday became the final day of Dejah Hood's life. What followed was a sequence of violence so extreme that it shocked even experienced investigators. The contrast between the trivial trigger and the brutal response defies rational explanation. It represents one of the most disturbing aspects of this case, how something so minor could provoke such devastating consequences. The timeline of that evening reveals how quickly situations can deteriorate when underlying instability exists. At 9 p.m., Dejah was safely helping a friend while caring for a child. By 10 p.m., she was fighting for her life. By midnight, her family was reporting her missing, and by the following afternoon, police would discover her body. This case forces us to confront uncomfortable realities about human behavior and the hidden dangers that can exist in seemingly normal relationships. It raises vital questions about recognizing warning signs before violence occurs. What warning signs do you think people often miss in potentially dangerous relationships? Have you ever noticed concerning behavior that others dismissed? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insight might help someone recognize a dangerous situation before it's too late. What happened in that Tyler apartment after Dejah's playful ear tug reveals the terrifying speed with which violence can erupt. According to Britton's confession, the innocent gesture instantly transported him into what he described as a fit of rage, a psychological state where rational thought disappeared, replaced by blind fury. Without warning or hesitation, Britton grabbed a glass bottle from the kitchen counter. As Dejah stood before him, likely confused by his sudden change in demeanor, he swung the bottle with full force, striking her in the back of the head. The impact sent her crumpling to the floor, the sudden attack giving her no chance to defend herself or escape, but the initial blow was just the beginning. As Dejah lay stunned on the kitchen floor, Britton launched into a sustained assault. He began punching her repeatedly, each blow fueled by an anger that had nothing to do with Dejah herself. According to his later statements, in those moments he wasn't seeing the young woman who had come to help him. He was channeling rage about his failed relationship onto someone whose only mistake was a gesture that triggered his memory. The violence escalated as Britton began strangling Dejah. Medical evidence would later show significant trauma to her neck, indicating the force he applied as she struggled for breath. The apartment that should have been a safe space became the setting for unimaginable brutality. Not satisfied with his bare hands, Britton reached for a hammer. With methodical violence that contradicts claims of temporary insanity, he struck Dejah's head repeatedly. The force of these blows was so extreme that the wooden handle of the hammer eventually snapped off, a detail that would later horrify investigators and speak to the intensity of the attack. In a bizarre twist that offers insight into Britton's disturbed mental state, after attacking Dejah, he attempted to take his own life. He first tried using a knife, making superficial cuts that failed to cause serious injury. He then retrieved the gun he had purchased earlier that day, holding it to his head. This suicide attempt was interrupted by a knock at the door. A neighbor, having heard the commotion, came to check if everything was all right. Britton, suddenly aware of potential witnesses, quickly covered Dejah's bloodied body with nearby items. When he answered the door, he assured the concerned neighbor that everything was fine, just some moving noise. The neighbor left, unaware that a young woman lay dying mere feet away, or that a 1-year-old child remained in the bedroom. The presence of the child during this violence adds another layer of horror to the events. Throughout the attack, the baby remained in Britton's bedroom, watching a movie, separated from the brutality by only a thin wall. In his confession, Britton stated that after the neighbor left, he suddenly remembered the child's presence. In a display of twisted logic that defies comprehension, Britton, hands still stained with Dejah's blood, took the 1-year-old child and drove to Dejah's mother's house. He delivered the baby without raising suspicion, offering no explanation for Dejah's absence. This chilling interaction, a murderer calmly facing his victim's mother while concealing his actions, demonstrates a calculated deception that contrasts with claims of temporary rage. Upon returning to his apartment, Britton encountered something unexpected and horrifying. Despite the brutal assault, Dejah Hood was still alive. According to his statement, he heard her calling his name, a final plea from a young woman who, even after suffering unimaginable violence, was reaching out for help. This discovery triggered the final phase of Britton's attack. Rather than calling for medical assistance or experiencing remorse at Dejah's suffering, he retrieved a knife. With deliberate intent that speaks to his state of mind, he stabbed her multiple times, ensuring she would not survive to identify him. The medical examiner would later document the extensive injuries Dejah suffered: blunt force trauma to the head, strangulation marks, and multiple stab wounds. Each represented a different phase of an attack that continued even when the victim posed no threat. By the time Britton finished his assault, the vibrant young woman who had entered his apartment hours earlier, the student with nursing aspirations, the trusted babysitter, the loyal friend, was gone. Her final moments were marked by pain and terror at the hands of someone she had trusted enough to help. The brutality of this attack, its sustained nature, the multiple weapons used, and the killer's clear determination to ensure Dejah's death, reveals something beyond momentary rage. It speaks to a capacity for violence that had remained hidden beneath a normal exterior until triggered by a simple touch. As midnight approached on September 26, 2023, Dejah's family grew increasingly concerned. Their calls and texts went unanswered, unusual for a young woman known for her responsibility. By 12:40 a.m. on September 27, their worry had escalated to alarm, prompting them to contact the Tyler Police Department to report her missing. Officers took the report seriously, particularly given Dejah's age and reliable character. They began gathering information about her last known whereabouts and companions. Through interviews with friends, investigators quickly identified Jagaria Britton as the person who had picked up Dejah and the child she was babysitting. By early afternoon on September 27, approximately 13 hours after Dejah was reported missing, police arrived at Britton's Holly Tree Apartments residence for questioning. What began as a routine follow-up in a missing person case quickly transformed when officers noticed something alarming: visible blood evidence in the apartment. The discovery shifted the investigation's tone immediately. What had been concern about a missing teenager became suspicion of something far worse. As officers examined the apartment more carefully, additional blood traces were found, some partially cleaned but detectable to trained eyes. The evidence suggested a violent incident had occurred within those walls. Based on this discovery, investigators obtained a search warrant for a more thorough examination of the premises and surrounding areas. At approximately 1:30 p.m., their worst fears were confirmed when they discovered Dejah's body behind the apartment complex. The killer had attempted to conceal his crime through multiple layers of concealment. Dejah's body had been wrapped in trash bags, secured with tape, and further wrapped in a bedsheet, a methodal process that suggested calculation rather than panic. Britton had thrown her remains over a fence into a creek bed behind the complex, where they were partially covered with leaves in an attempt to delay discovery. When confronted with the mounting evidence, Britton's facade crumbled. he provided investigators with a detailed confession, recounting the events of the previous night with disturbing clarity. He admitted to the initial attack with the glass bottle, the subsequent beating and strangling, the hammer assault, and finally, the stabbing upon discovering Dejah was still alive after his return from delivering the child. His confession included the timeline of his attempts to conceal the crime. He described wrapping Dejah's body around 3 a.m. and carrying it outside, throwing it over the fence where it would be out of immediate sight. He admitted returning around 7 a.m. to cover the body with leaves. Actions that demonstrated awareness of his crime and deliberate attempts to evade justice. Based on Britton's confession and the physical evidence, he was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Additionally, he faced charges of terroristic threats against family members. A separate but concerning aspect of his behavior that emerged during the investigation, the judge, recognizing the severity of the crime and potential flight risk, set Britton's bond at $1,050,000. He was transported to Smith County Jail, where he would await trial for a crime that shocked the Tyler community. The speed and efficiency of the investigation, less than 24 hours from missing person report to arrest, demonstrated the Tyler Police Department's effectiveness. However, this efficiency brought little comfort to Dejah's family and friends, who now faced the devastating reality of her loss. The investigation revealed not just the mechanics of the crime but its senselessness. No evidence suggested previous conflicts between Dejah and Britton. No motive existed beyond his emotional reaction to a gesture that reminded him of his ex-girlfriend. The case file documented not just a murder, but the fragility of human life, how quickly it can be taken, and how tenuous the barriers between safety and danger sometimes are. As news of Dejah's murder spread through Tyler, the community struggled to process how someone described as kind and nurturing could meet such a violent end, and how someone like Britton could harbor such capacity for brutality beneath an ordinary exterior. News of Dejah's murder sent shockwaves through Tyler, Texas. The community struggled to reconcile the horrific details emerging from police reports with the vibrant young woman they had known. At John Tyler High School, administrators arranged for grief counselors as students processed the loss of their classmate just weeks into the school year. The hallways, once filled with Dejah's laughter, fell unnaturally quiet as the reality of her absence settled in. For Dejah's parents, Lakita Jordan and David Hood, the pain was immeasurable. They had raised a daughter who embodied kindness and responsibility, only to lose her through an act of senseless violence. Their grief was compounded by the circumstances that Dejah died helping someone, an extension of the giving nature they had always encouraged. Sarah Evans, Dejah's best friend, spoke through tears at a memorial gathering. "I keep thinking about her final moments," she said, that she was alone and afraid, that the last face she saw was someone hurting her instead of someone loving her. This thought tormented not just Sarah, but everyone who had known Dejah's gentle spirit. The contrast between how she lived spreading kindness and how she died was a cruelty that magnified their grief. Local news coverage captured candlelight vigils where hundreds gathered, many wearing purple, Dejah's favorite color. Former teachers spoke of her potential, classmates shared stories of her generosity, families she had babysat for described her remarkable connection with their children. Each testimony painted a portrait of a young woman whose impact far exceeded her 18 years. Perhaps most painful was the revelation that Dejah had previously been a source of comfort for Britton during his emotional struggles. Friends recalled instances where she had listened to his relationship problems, offering the same compassionate ear she extended to everyone. The betrayal of this kindness, that someone who had received her empathy could respond with such violence, added a layer of bitter irony to the tragedy. In the weeks following her death, the void left by Dejah's absence became increasingly apparent. The children she babysat asked when she would return. Her volleyball team left her position empty during their next game. Her desk at school remained unoccupied, a visual reminder of potential unfulfilled. A community member summarized the collective sentiment: "Some people take more than a life when they kill someone. With Dejah, they took all the good she would have done, all the people she would have helped, all the children she would have cared for. That's the true measure of this loss." DJ's tragic story offers critical lessons about recognizing warning signs that might indicate potential for violence. While hindsight provides clarity, understanding these indicators could help prevent similar tragedies. Sudden mood swings and explosive anger represent significant red flags. Britain's rapid transition from calm to murderous rage wasn't likely isolated. People capable of such extreme violence typically show earlier signs of disproportionate emotional responses. Friends later recalled instances where Britain had become intensely angry over minor issues, though these episodes were dismissed as personality quirks rather than warning signs. Emotional instability following traumatic events, like breakups, deserves particular attention. While most people process relationship endings without violence, those with underlying issues may experience triggering effects. Britain's fixation on his ex-girlfriend and his purchase of a gun the same day as the murder suggests escalating instability that might have been noticeable to those around him. Controlling behaviors often precede physical violence. Though Britain's relationship with Dejah wasn't romantic, his history with previous partners reportedly included possessiveness and jealousy. These controlling tendencies frequently intensify over time, eventually manifesting as violence when the person feels their control slipping. Threats and intimidation, even when seemingly joking, should never be ignored. Investigators later learned Britain had made concerning statements about making people pay for perceived slights. Comments friends had interpreted as harmless venting rather than genuine warning signs. Open communication about concerning behaviors is essential for prevention. Many people notice troubling signs but hesitate to speak up, fearing overreaction or damaging relationships. Creating environments where such concerns can be expressed without judgment might save lives. Had someone voiced concerns about Britain's emotional state or recent gun purchase, intervention might have been possible. Communities play crucial roles in violence prevention. Neighbors, teachers, friends, and acquaintances form a network that can identify concerning patterns invisible to any single observer. The neighbor who knocked on Britain's door heard disturbing sounds but accepted his explanation without further inquiry, a missed opportunity for intervention that highlights how community vigilance matters. Support systems for both potential victims and those experiencing emotional crises are vital prevention tools. Crisis hotlines, counseling services, and domestic violence resources provide essential assistance. Additionally, anger management programs and mental health services offer help for those struggling with emotional regulation before violence occurs. Recognizing these warning signs isn't about paranoia but awareness. Most people displaying occasional concerning behaviors never become violent. However, patterns of these behaviors, especially in combination, warrant attention and potentially intervention. The key is responding to concerning signs early, before momentary anger transforms into irreversible tragedy. The story of Dejah Hood reveals a haunting truth. The line between friendship and danger can be invisible until crossed. What appeared to be a normal evening helping a friend became in an instant a nightmare from which there was no escape. This invisible boundary, this sudden transformation, represents the most terrifying aspect of interpersonal violence. Dejah had no reason to fear Britain. No previous interactions suggested the violence he was capable of inflicting, yet beneath his ordinary exterior lurked a capacity for brutality that emerged with devastating consequences. This reality forces us to reconsider how we evaluate safety in our relationships. Trusting our instincts becomes crucial in a world where danger can wear a familiar face. That subtle discomfort, that unexplained unease, these feelings deserve our attention. They represent our subconscious processing information our conscious mind might miss. Dejah likely had no opportunity to recognize danger before it overwhelmed her, but her story can help others listen to their internal warning systems. The trigger for Britain's violence, a playful ear tug, highlights how seemingly insignificant actions can reveal profound instability in certain individuals. This disproportionate response speaks to underlying issues that existed long before that fatal moment. The ear tug didn't create his capacity for violence, it merely exposed what was already there. We honor Dejah's memory not through fear but through awareness. Her life, characterized by kindness, ambition, and care for others, deserves celebration, Her death demands our attention to the complex realities of human behavior and the importance of recognizing warning signs before violence occurs. The young woman who dreamed of becoming a nurse, who cared for children with natural grace, who supported friends through difficult times, she would want her story to protect others. She would want the lessons of her tragedy to prevent similar losses. In this way, her impact continues beyond her 18 years. What do you think communities can do to better protect young people from hidden dangers in relationships? Let us know in the comments below, and if this story impacted you, please like and share to spread awareness. Your engagement helps these important messages reach those who might need them most. This has been True Crime Malice, where we explore difficult truths to create a safer world. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to join our community dedicated to awareness and prevention. Until next time, stay safe and stay vigilant, because understanding darkness helps us better appreciate and protect the light.